was Warm Thoughts by Flume, and I wanted to bring some healing, positive, warm energy before we talk about some pretty intense topics today. So, I wanted to talk about my struggles with eating disorders and an eating disorder and body dysmorphia. Inspired to talk about this because of the quarantine 15. As many of you know, you either came out of COVID like a fitness guru, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, or you may have gained a few pounds, which is fine because there was a lot of stuff going on. So please do not be harsh on yourself if you gained a few pounds because of quarantine. So first, I kind of want to start off with some statistics about eating disorders for those who aren't too familiar if they never had one. Eating disorders affect at least 9% of the population worldwide, and that those that are diagnosed. So there could be a good percent of people that aren't diagnosed with them and still struggling, because another statistic is that only 1 in 10 will seek and receive treatment. So I feel like that kind of gives you an idea that there is more than likely more people, and probably people that you know who are dealing with it and you may have not any idea. 28 through 74% risk is through genetics. Is anorexia specifically is recorded as the deadliest mental illness, second to opioid addiction overdose, because there's at least 10,200 in deaths each year due to anorexia. That kind of relates to either like a suicide due to anorexia, or because it's basically you are killing yourself by not eating. So that's kind of like some background information that I got from, I'll link the website where I found that. Well, let's get into the next segment, which is the toxicity of diet culture. Being an adult and living in a society that's very, what is the best diet for you when your body changes? Bullshit. Sorry. It is though. Like, everybody's body's different. No one diet works for everybody. And that's kind of, I think it all stems down to having a healthy relationship with food, not punishing yourself for if you have, a bad meal or a dessert or anything that's not in your diet. I just think dieting is so toxic. Like, that's my personal opinion about it. When I first kind of noticed diet culture was when I was in beauty school, which I kind of forgot to talk about in my last episode. I did go to beauty school after high school before I started to go to college. So I started college when I was 20. So from 19 to 20, I went to beauty school, and it was very not a good experience for me. That was something I thought I wanted to do my whole life, and then I was there, and I was like, this isn't what I want to do. I was very unhappy, and I don't know if it was just like the environment, the school that I was in. Maybe it would have been different if I went somewhere else, but either way, was not the path for me. And I was one of the younger girls there. There were only a few girls that were at least in my like core class. So you kind of start with a core class and you kind of basically journey with them your entire time. So you're with those people, and a lot of them were older than me. I would say they were in their like later 20s, and I was 19. As I said before, all kind of started, I would say, or restarted. Yeah, I'll kind of go into my journey, but basically I noticed it because they would always say comments like, oh, wait till you're this age, you're not gonna be able to eat like that. So it was kind of like setting this like mindset, like, oh my God, I need to fix my eating before I get to this age or whatever. But everybody's body's different and people's metabolism changes, which is something that I've learned. So that's kind of like when I learned about the toxicity of the diet culture, of like what it is being an adult, is like when your body changes, like basically you're not going to be able to eat like that anymore. So that's kind of where it all started, and that's where I got really it restarted from when I was in high school and having troubles with eating, which I'll go into my like background story. That's kind of where I realized like the adult life diet culture is very toxic. So before I want to get into like my backstory, I just kind of want to like throw a little thing in here for, biggest thing that I want to, share with this episode is just being mindful and to not food shame, because everybody's body is different. There was a time in my life where I had to, you have to be cautious of people that you're friends with because they can be triggering to you. So I've recently had friends that were like in weddings, they were their own weddings, and just not realizing that their diet talks, their things can affect people, especially if you're not in a good place mentally, and then you start to like reflect. You're like, oh, well, did I gain weight here? Does my face look chubbier? Does my and it's so draining and mentally like a lot. So I've definitely had to like sit people down that I've been friends with, and I'm like, I'm happy for you, I'm glad you're losing weight, but you aren't doing it healthily, and you're triggering me to do things and revert back to unhealthy ways, and I just can't be around that. I can't put myself through that because you're triggering me, and it's just kind of like putting yourself first, which is huge and important. So, and don't shame people. Like, if you're dieting and you're restricting your foods, don't make other people feel bad because they don't have to. Something that I've dealt with, having a good metabolism from genetics, which is that's all it comes from. You can like help your metabolism, but majority of the time it comes from genetics. So I've been shamed a lot, being able, oh, well, glad you can eat foods like that. If I ate foods like that, I would gain weight. It's just because then it just creates this toxicity in someone's head that, oh, that food's gonna make me gain weight. That's all we hear. We don't hear, oh, good thing you can eat that, but I can't. Because all, I am absorbing from what you're saying is that food is gonna make me gain weight. I should stop eating it. And people don't understand because, that's not their first thought. Like, that's not their mindset. Their mindset is that they wish they could eat that food, otherwise they're gonna gain weight. But honestly, if I've learned anything from my restrictions from food, is that it doesn't matter. Can eat, metabolisms do make a difference. Yes, I understand that, but I feel like everything can be enjoyed in moderation. And if you're not letting yourself have something, more than likely you're going to binge and eat way too much. When then if you would have just let yourself have what you're craving and enjoyed in moderation, would be better than binging it. That's my personal opinion. So just kind of wanted to add that little thing in there about just being mindful and don't food shame people and don't body shame people because of their genetics. That's like a big thing that I've kind of dealt with, which always people don't realize, like when they're saying those things, that can trigger somebody too. Like when people say those things to me, a lot of the times it just triggers me back into bad habits. So let's get into more of the backstory. My struggles with mental health became more in my life after I was in an abusive relationship. Beginning, it was great, and like everyone has like that first relationship that really impacts them. Like, spiritualists say there's three main loves in your life. Like the first one is usually very like it's either good impactful or bad impactful, and then you have a second love which is usually not good. You usually have like one really, but it's a lesson. Everything is a lesson. And then you have one like your final third love that is supposed to be your twin flame or soulmate or whatever you believe. And so this is my first love. We'll say love in quotes because now I realize I was not love, I was manipulated. But in the beginning, he was so sweet. He was very like, you're the most beautiful girl on the planet, blah, blah, blah. And then it started going downhill early on. It all started when he got obsessed with this one website or this app, and it would basically be pictures of women half naked and gamer things. And he would like show me these pictures of these girls on cars or like gamer girls and like on Tumblr. Wow, I forgot about Tumblr. Yes, so it would be on Tumblr, and he would find these like pictures of these women and be like, this is what I want your body to look like. I want you to look like this. Like, do whatever you need to do to look like that. And one thing I'm kind of going to talk about slightly that I kind of want to go into later in an episode is it's never really, and it's not their fault, it's just their parenting style and the people they are. They weren't very up. There was no I never felt beautiful. They were never the ones that were like, oh my God, Courtney, you're beautiful. I feel like my mom got better when I got older, but like I don't specifically remember like when I was younger, like hearing those things. So I got that, from outside family or from boys. That was so when someone that you think you love is telling you to look a certain way, and that's where you're building your confidence is getting built up from that person, and then they're telling you to, like, you're gonna believe. So I believed him, and then that's where it kind of all began, and that's when I stopped eating. And then he had this ex-girlfriend her mom was very thin also, so it was her genetics. She was just a very slender girl, and he would be like, blank, her hips stick out way more. Like, you should make your hips stick out like hers. That was so sexy, the way her hips stuck out. And at the time, I'm like, I would never let a male talk to me like that. Now, it's just so funny that I just let, someone speak to me that way. And then it was actually comes full circle because she was the one who actually reported me to the guidance counselors that I wasn't eating, that I was hurting myself, was in this relationship that was abusive mentally at the time, because it was only mentally in the beginning. And I hated her because they called my mom, told her that she was jealous of our relationship, and I manipulated my way out of it, basically. But I didn't with the counselors. So I had to go every week to see this counselor, and I got more and more comfortable with her to the point where I stopped lying and I started actually opening up to her, and she was the reason I got out of that relationship. But it didn't end there. He would start bullying me. He would send me all these horrible anonymous messages on Tumblr, getting insecurities about me that only he knew, because I'm a very closed. I don't really tell people like what I'm insecure about unless I really trust you. And so he would hit on those insecurities in these messages and basically list all these reasons like why I should kill myself. And then he would be like, you think you're hot, you're not, and then hit on those insecurities. Him and his friends would follow me around. We had like one big lunch at my school, so everybody had lunch at the same time. It was an hour long, and it was meant to, you would eat lunch, and then you could, if you were struggling in a class or, needed extra help, you could go to your teachers during that time because they were all available. So that was kind of like their idea of, why this was good. And so, you had a lot of extra time after eating usually, and everyone would like kind of walk around the halls, and he would follow me around, and him and his friends would be like hippo thighs or hippo butt or whatever, just some sort of like comment about my body, and that he knew that I was insecure about, because weird random fact, I hit puberty pretty late. I was really I was like 16 when I started to have the womanly, you know what I'm talking about. And something, that came through genetics was I had a butt naturally, but I was a thinner girl, so it just kind of it didn't look fake, but it just didn't look natural, I guess. And so that was like something that was like, the boys would like, oh, I would wear spandex, and the boys would, I called her that blank, you can fill in the blank. And so that's something he would torture me on, because he knew I was insecure about it, because I wasn't, used to that attention from males. And so I would get really in my head, and I would, wish. It was stupid. I should have been like, woo, yes. But instead, he, tortured me with it. And he, would just say those things. So that's kind of where it all really started. And then it continued, and it's still something that I struggle with today. When I was in beauty school, like I said before, that diet culture of the older women being like, oh, you better fix your eating before you get to this age. Oh, you better do this, you better do that. Not realizing like how much of an impact that had on me, and how much I thought I had this like timeline in my head where I had to fix my eating And they don't know my genetics. They don't know that my, could have good genetics, I could have bad genetics, and maybe being 22 didn't affect me like they affected them. And that was where I had to learn that for myself. Also struggle with this thing called body dysmorphia, which is basically like here's like a bubble of like OCD, and it's like a side bubble that it like stems from OCD. I was never diagnosed with OCD, but my therapist did say that I do struggle with body dysmorphia, with this like obsession of yourself, but in a negative way. So, you have an insecurity. So you always focus on that insecurity. You see a picture getting taken of yourself, and the first thing you notice is what you're insecure about. So I grew up very insecure about my nose. So, like, anytime I would see a picture, I'd be like, can't post that. My nose looks too big. Or that was like my always focus. And then it was to the point where I didn't even want people to take pictures of me because in my head, would convince myself that it was going to turn out bad. So I would manifest that basically it would be a bad picture every single time I said, oh, this is going to be horrible. I'm going to look horrible. And then it would, I would manifest it without even realizing what I was doing. And I would, convince myself I look so horrible when I didn't. And then if I would see pictures of videos that other people would take of me like unexpectedly, I would be like, who is that girl? That's not me. I don't look like that. Like, that girl looks, that's not me. Like, it would literally be a shock. Like, when I would see pictures that were like decent, as it comes down to angles and lighting and blah, 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 and like all that stuff when it comes down to pictures. So that's, that's where it all goes down to. But we live in a very society that's based off of social media, and, we are idolizing fake pictures of people. Like, these pictures are taken by photographers, they're edited by professionals, or what I also want to get into, filters. These filters are horrible. I don't even I'm getting better, but there was a point where I would never even take a Snapchat that didn't have a filter on it, which is, it's so sad that that's what has come to. That I hate it. I hate it. So let's go to where I'm at today. So today I have the best relationship with food that I've ever had since I was in high school. So, mini celebration for me. This is huge. You guys, I don't know if you really understand how huge it is. I am 26, so 10 years of my life I have struggled, and this is the best that I've been with food. So it's such a amazing thing. I have been recently going through like a very spiritual journey, if you want to call it, that's kind of what it's called. And one thing that I've realized on this, you guys are going to make fun of me. I've watched a lot of documentaries and stuff, and very like food guilt. I get very sad when I eat meat, so I have slowly replaced meat with and if I go places and there's like a plant-based option, I will do that, and I feel so much better. Like, I don't get as sad, and I've been I've read about a lot of people who are going through like a spirituality thing, turning to vegetarians or veganism. And, I've done little things, like I've slowly replaced like my milk. Like, I'm no longer drinking like cow's milk. I'm drinking plant-based milk, Ripple from Target. It's amazing. Replace like my creamer. The one thing that I'm having trouble with that will probably not happen until I move somewhere that's not the Midwest. Cheese. I cannot find a vegan cheese to replace all my cheese. Like, I love cream cheese, love regular cheese, cheese. So much cheese. That's hard. Vegan cheese does not compare. I cannot find a vegan cheese that compares. And until I do, I will not give up cheese. But like little things like, milk and stuff has been really, it's all trial and error too. Like, I grew up drinking skim milk, and then as I got older, I started liking 2%. So it was kind of finding a plant-based milk that had that consistency, because almond milk was like too thin and it has a lot of sugar in it too. So Ripple, Target. I think they have it at other places like Pick and Save and Festival, but Ripple is the brand, and it's so good. And it actually tastes better than real milk. I don't even know if I could go back to drinking regular milk at this point. That's kind of like, so I don't necessarily call it a diet. I feel like it's a lifestyle change. And I've matured from having a 12-year-old diet to probably like a mature 16-year-old. So go me. Yeah, and I don't like, there, I definitely struggle and I definitely get triggered, and I definitely like see myself like saying bad habits of like, oh my God, I shouldn't have had the McDonald's. But you're hungover, let yourself have the McDonald's. I've just kind of have gotten to a point where I'm like mentally in a good place. So I feel like that's why my relationship with food is so good, because like I'm mentally good. And I've just been trying to find like, I basically find ways to eat healthy food and make them like taste good. So like I've been trying to eat more greens. I don't like a lot of vegetables. Like I said, I have a diet of I'm going to say 16-year-old now. So I don't really like a lot of vegetables, but I've been recently eating like green peppers with cream cheese, and that's actually like so good. It's a really weird taste at first, but you like, I started dipping in like ranch or French dressing, and it's actually like so good, and it's super good for you. So just I try to find ways to make healthy food taste better, I guess. Like I just try to find like the healthiest version of things just for my own body, and not only to feel good. And I feel so good. But like I said, the best I've been in a long time. And so yeah, if you or you know anyone who's struggling and needs someone to talk to, need some advice on how to talk to your friends to not talk about their, dieting and that toxicity of that, please reach out to me. I would love to help you. It's not easy, and sometimes you could lose friends because of it, but you just have to remind yourself, and that's not the type of person you want in your life if you come to them because you're struggling and they're not understanding. So maybe they're not meant to be your friend. That's kind of the sad reality of it. But yeah, if you know anyone who's struggling, or you're struggling and you need someone to talk to, please reach out to me on my Instagram. Love to talk to people about this and be able to like help other people, because it's a struggle, and it's forever going to be a struggle. It's something that never really goes away. It's just something you learn how to control, basically. So with that being said, the next episode I want to go into my struggles with anxiety, panic attacks, depression, and post-traumatic stress. So it's kind of a lot of topics in one, but we're gonna condense. It might be a little bit longer than this one, but yeah, so that's kind of like what the next episode's gonna be about. Thank you for listening to this. Like, share, comment. I would love to hear some ideas of things that you guys would like me to talk about. If I've mentioned little things and you want me to go into deeper, please leave a comment, and I will, add it to the next segment or add a whole episode about it if I feel like I could. Yeah, please leave comments, give me some feedback. I would love that. And please, like, just thank you for listening. You guys are all my angels. Thank you to everybody who's being super supportive about this. I love you all. Y'all, my angels. I hope you have a beautiful day. Thank you so much.